All right. Let's start off with the first question. All right. So, what is your name, stage name, and personal pronouns we can use?
Ah, well, my stage name is LaBelle. People often call me Lady LaBelle because that was the first title that I was given, but I just go by LaBelle. And in this fashion, I go by her, and in my everyday, it's he.
All right.
But honestly, they're both very fluid. Honestly, there's no break in between who I really am and what this character is. It's just a manifestation of who I am.
Awesome. I love that. And second question following up, what are your origins of your drag name, your drag origins, and when did you start performing?
Okay, well, it's been a very interesting road. I'm a theater performer when I'm not doing drag, but it has seemed that every time I do a show that features a drag queen, I am the person they asked to do it. So that started years ago with the production of Hair. And yeah, so and then I joined a company of La Cage au Fall, which kind of comes back to me like boomerangs. Like every time someone's doing a production, I will get that phone call. Can you do it? And I go, sure. Have costumes. Will travel. When do you need me? Do I need a script? No. um, and then around 2012, I did a wonderful benefit for the Gay Food Festival in New York City, which was around 2011. And I was doing a wonderful gender bend show where all of the ladies were singing guy songs and all the guys were singing lady songs. And I was their capper. And later that year, I won an award for Best Drag Performance in a cabaret, which kind of started this wheel to rolling. And so, yeah, that's what happened. And I had a dear friend of mine who was getting ready to leave New York City to go to Los Angeles, California to do a production company. And he was a drag queen in New York City. His name at the time was Dallas Dubois, who's no longer performing, who gave me my chance when, at her finale show, all the way out here on Long Island at the Eagle Veranda Bar. And LaBelle was born that day, and she has been going on for 7 years. So yeah, that's pretty much how she came to be. The name is my mother's name, so everyone calls her LaBelle or Ma LaBelle or LaBelle, some way, shape, or form, and that's my name.
That's so sweet. Congratulations on your award. That's
Yep.
so sweet that the name comes from your mom. How wonderful. Um, so, given that we are doing this as part of Pride Month, even though Pride is every day, what does Pride mean to you, and how are you still celebrating and honoring Pride Month given all of the changes that are going on right now?
Well, I think it's really apropos to celebrate Pride with things that are going on right now. It's like it's so spot on because, to be quite honest with you, it's all about civil rights. And as a person of color, we've been fighting for civil rights for decades, almost, well, practically 500 years. And it's really funny that today, of all day, well, in this day and age, that, we're still fighting for the very same civil rights, no matter whether you have a different skin tone or your sexual preference. So I celebrate Pride within that, knowing that our first Pride was a riot. We had to get angry and go out in the streets and say enough. And that's what's happening. And the cool thing is that we have social media. So now all the things that people say, oh, well, I heard, no, it's not a rumor anymore. This is real. This is what happens. And it's now gone global. I mean, I was watching news the other night and they were in Sudan and they were fighting, for their equal rights and the battle on racism and things like that. So yeah, I celebrate Pride by just living. I'm one of those many people who will tell you, yeah, things do get better. But I also tell people that life is just because you leave high school does not mean life is not like high school. Okay. I mean, we're not in such a close community. We're now out in the public, and you'll find that there are still people out there who still act like, that bully or the popular girl or this, that, and the other. And the cool thing is that as an adult, you get to say no. You actually get to say no. You get to claim your life and live it as you want to live it because you only got one. So as a theater teacher outside of this, I teach a lot of young kids and high school students in theater arts. I get a lot of different kids who are questioning who they are. And when they see me, even when they see me in this fashion, they know that everything's fine, that you will be fine, no matter, even if your parents know what's going on with you, you're going to be fine. And you just have to take it one day at a time. And that's pretty much it. That's how I do the Pride. That's what I hope I instill when people see me when I'm out, or if I happen to be invited to do a Pride event like this. And I want people to know that, yeah, we're here, but we're everyday people, and we're just as proud to be everywhere and anywhere and exactly who we are.
Yeah, I think remembering the roots of Pride, and right now, as difficult as a time as I think everybody is facing, it is so important that we acknowledge that Pride was a fight for human rights, and Pride was a fight for safety. And safety shouldn't be a privilege. So there are going to be resources in the description box for anybody who might be watching this who's maybe overwhelmed. There's going to be specific resources for the Black LGBT plus population. If you find yourself in part of that population and you feel like you need some targeted resources right now, we have those for you. And it's really important to us as a charity, but to me personally, that we are finding a way to listen right now. And I thank you for lending your voice right now, because the reality is people's personal experiences are a great asset to learn from. So I have a question kind of coming out of that same idea is, what can we as a community do to create a more inclusive space? What can we do to create a safer space? Because the thing I hear from my personal friends all the time is Pride is their place. Whether or not it be the physical events or whatever, Pride is their place where they can feel safe and included. Do you have any ideas of how we as a community, what we can do to make it better?
One of the things that I always speak, and this is coming from an entertainer's standpoint, there are not a lot of spaces that we used to have about 20, 25 years ago that were LGBTQ. And we need those spaces. The problem is we're still in a recession. And we don't have the funds, we don't have the money to be able to just open up a space. But one of the things that would help is a lot of space. Another thing is if anyone has a link to communities or projects like this, reach out to them and ask them, is there any way that you can help us? Always ask for help. My mother always told me that, if you don't know, ask. And that goes the same for people who don't even know what our struggle is. It's one thing when people want to just ask you a question, but I'm like, but honestly, you don't have to be combative. Just answer the question as a teacher would. Everything is a learning experience. So I always try to do that also, especially when someone comes up and asks me, well, why do you do that? Or why are you this? Well, would you like to know, or are you just trying to be funny? And usually I end up teaching them a life lesson anyway without getting loud. And they only end up walking away a little dazed and confused because they thought that I was going to be like, rah! But at the time, and I'm like, no, this is what you want to know. This is why it is. But yeah, but for as of spaces, look around your local communities. Even check to see if there are any places that deal with community outreaches and things like that, because they don't know that they may have a population of LGBTQ in their midst. And if they know, they might be able to help you out and find out things that you can do and offer safety and all of the above. So yeah, questioning is always a good thing.
Be willing to learn those things. And I think I love the point that you make about reaching out to spaces that maybe exist because of the economic side of it. Reach out to places that exist, that maybe if it's not a separate space, it's a space where there is a designated time, there's a designated day, and also recognize that somebody saying, I need my space isn't an exclusivity thing, it's a safety thing. So respect those spaces if they do exist and understand what they're there for.
And we have this internet. That's what we are supposed to be using it for, information and facts and things like that. Get on and search your towns. Working also out here in the theater community on Long Island, They're going through a similar kind of thing about how do we introduce our conversations, how do we do this? And I'm like, well, you ask the people, you ask the public. It's the same thing, it's reciprocal. You want to know as a civilian, you go out and you ask the questions. So yeah, it's always important to always ask, always.
So you hear this probably a lot. What are some common misconceptions about drag performance, and how does those things make you feel?
Well, the most common question I always get, this is usually two or three, but people usually want to know why do this, or how all of this comes together. And as I said before, I am a theater performer. For me, drag started as a theater-based art. So I tell them that it's basically the same thing. When you go to a Broadway play and you sit in the seats and the house lights go out and the curtain opens and these lights come on, you see about 30 people in ridiculous costumes, wigs, and way too much makeup underneath the spotlight. So the character that I am is basically like what you would see in a Broadway show. The only difference is that there's a $5 cover at the club and I'm literally sweating on you. That's really different. That's really the difference. And we're so close, and you actually get to interact with us. We actually get to talk to you and have fun with you and hang out with you. So, and that's goes along with the cost of the question that that she had before about how people, come up and ask all different kinds of things. The other question I get is, how long does it take? Now, as I have said before, I'm in theater. I've been doing theater for over years. So to do this for me takes about 45 minutes when I have time. I can do this in about 25, 30. Because in a theater, when your show opens at 8 o'clock and you walk in late, and it's like you got literally minutes to put all of this together and walk on the stage, you have to get in, you have to do it. So, but it's different for everybody. I have a friend who takes 3 hours. Can you believe it? 3. I can have a sandwich, watch a couple of shows. I don't have time for that. But that's one of the main questions that I get. And the other question is, do I want to be a woman? Now, I am a cisgendered man. The question is no, I do not want to be a woman. This is a character. This is fun. It's a hobby that is a little lucrative, that I just enjoy doing. So not all drag queens that you see want to become women. Not all drag queens are biological men. Some and not all drag queens are gay, believe it or not. So there's, we actually have everything you can possibly imagine within the community. And yeah, it's an art form. It's a total art form. The fact that I can put on all of this and stand on the stage and maybe for a second have the audience believe that what they're seeing is a real living, breathing human being, my job is done. So that's pretty much it.
Oh, awesome. Actually, you know what? That actually follows up into the next question. I was going to ask you, art obviously is a drag. I mean, drag is an art form. So what makes you passionate about drag performance?
It's just a lot of fun, I always tell people, try it. You try it once, at least say you did it, so that way you can understand what it's like. Yeah, it's a process. Yes, it can take up a lot of time, but not really, not if you enjoy it. And that goes for anything, really. If you're a singer, you take the time to practice, you take the time to hone your craft and skills. But then we have karaoke bars. You go out, you get up there, you sing. If it's great, it's great. If it's not, it's not. But at least you had fun with it. So I always tell people to have fun with it. It doesn't make any sense if you can't get on the stage and just be like, whatever. And that's another thing. Also, for those who are watching who ever thought about doing this, one of the best things that I can say is, be the best idiot you can be. If you can't laugh at yourself, they won't laugh at you. If you can't enjoy what you're doing, they won't enjoy what you're doing. And another thing, stop worrying about what other people think about it. Just do what makes you happy. Create the way you want to create it. Make the character you want. Then everything will click in. And then everything, people will be like, oh, this is amazing. I get what you're trying to do. So that's it, really.
Yeah, and this, you're just transitioning us beautifully. You're making it so easily for us. So as a mental health charity, as a suicide prevention organization, we talk a lot about mental health and how it impacts us.
Mhm.
And all of these questions are kind of going to jumble together, but I love what you're saying about the value of just loving something. If like you were saying, if you love singing, or be the best singer rather that you can be, that makes you feel good. It doesn't have to be, you're not obligated to just be producing all the time. If
Right.
you want to spend 3 hours putting on drag makeup, go
Put
for
on.
it. It
Yep.
is an art form, and something that has kind of helped me with that mentality is I think of it as if I was playing an instrument, I would go buy the instrument and I would spend hours practicing it. So I would financially invest, I would time invest, and it would just be a passion project. That can be applied to anything in your life. And that was really hard for me to get over, to not think everything has to be a business, everything has to be a job. No, you're a human. Go have some fun, go do some art.
And
And
the fun thing about that is that it can turn into a job because you enjoy it so much.
exactly.
You know, you never know. You got to try it.
Exactly. And everybody that we are talking to that you guys are seeing these videos from, this is their profession, or for some part-time, for some full-time. It is something that can become that, but start it from that place. I love start from the place of be the character you would want to see. If you don't see a character you want, go
Make
be
it.
that character. So obviously, just like you're talking about how there's this vastness and this variety of how the drag community can be. Every individual is an individual. We think about mental health that way a lot of the time. So for you, what does mental health mean to you, and how has it impacted you?
Oh, well, we're human beings. We all have brains. We all have a way of thinking. We all have things that make sense to us. The important thing that I have learned in my journey of life is that it's important to speak about things. It's important to put things out in the open because, as my late grandmother used to say, I'm not a mind reader. People are not mind readers. If you don't say something, they'll never know, and that's part of the problem. Not only not only in my community, but in all communities. And it starts when we're kids. And I was fortunate enough to be raised in a family where we talk. Not that we didn't have our problems or anything, but my mother is a woman who always said, if I don't know something, I'll find someone who does. And fortunately for me, whatever question I needed to have answered, if she didn't know, someone knew, and they were able to explain it to me, and they were able to explain it to me where I could understand it and move through life. And as I said, we get older and we get stagnant and we run into our own little problems here and there. But yeah, take solace in knowing that that's really what it takes. Honestly, it takes to say, you know what, hey girl, look, I'm not doing well today. It takes that comfort in other people as well as your friends and family to say, okay, look, you know, we need a break. I need to talk to you as a person, you know. And so I'm fortunate that I'm surrounded by a lot of people who are really good friends, who are and really good family who we sit and we can talk about subjects for hours, like and look at the clock and be like, oh my God, it's like 3 a.m. in the morning, you know. And all we do is just sit and talk, and at the end of that talk, whatever problem that you had, if you had one, it may not have gone away, but at least you got some answers from other people. It may not, and as I always say, you can tell me what you want, but it's up to me to make the decision on how to go about it. But, knowing that there are options out there from another brain is a great way to help with mental health. But yeah, and see somebody, you know, we have all of these wonderful clinics all around our Long Island and throughout cities and whatnot that people don't even take into, you know. I mean, you can just go to a clinic and see if they have someone who is a psychotherapist or some sort. And it doesn't take that long, doesn't take that much money. You may not even need to become a patient, you know, but it helps to have somewhere to go or someone to go to that will give you something that inspires you even more to go out and be like, okay, you know what, you got this. Okay. So yeah, that's really it. You know, talking and having that conversation is so important, especially nowadays, you know, because we have these iPhones and these computers and, you know, we're sitting here talking right now, but you know, as soon as this is over, we're gonna be like, okay, girl, what happened on this social media? Well, you know, that's what the social media is for, you know, and one of the greatest things about what's happening right now is that I have so many friends on my social media that, you know, you click your friends, you're not in each other's lives, but for them to come out and reach out to me, even if I haven't heard from them in years, to talk about whatever or whatever situation is going on right now is like a great, wonderful thing that has happened, including the pandemic. And you know, it was just like, wow, okay, well, you know, well, you really are a friend, you know, you may be in England, but you know, we're still able to have a human conversation. So yeah, take all of that into I'm losing my words. You know, but take all of that in and use it. That's what it's there for.
What are some of your favorite ways of practicing self-care?
Just I really don't know. I really don't know. I don't know how to answer that in the sense that, you know, I get up every day and just go about life. And a life is complicated, you know. So you get up, you eat some breakfast, you give yourself a pep talk, you go out and face the world is pretty much how I do that self-care. As I said, I have family, I have friends, I talk to them all the time. I try to eat right, not during this pandemic, but I try, I try to eat right. I try to do some kind of exercising. I'm a dancer by trade, so you know, getting up, moving around, things like that. It's pretty simple. Going out for walks, things like that. It's quite simple.
Yeah, I really actually, I adore that the first thing that came out of your mouth was, I don't really know. Because I don't think we ask about self-care very often. But if I said, how do we keep our heart healthy? You would say something similar. Like, yeah, we exercise, we eat well, we make sure we're socializing and things like that. So
You know,
our challenge to everybody is to now think, you could have said at the beginning of this, I don't know how to practice self-care. But now we challenge every person to think it and maybe even comment something that is practicing self-care, because
yeah,
we know it's something you got to think about sometimes. And
because honestly, it's the simplest thing.
Mhm.
You know, but as I said, we're all humans, we all have different brains, we have different ways of thinking about self-care, you know, and self-care is virtually simple.
Is there a positive message that you would like to share with our audience, with whoever's watching this, supporters, allies, LGBT plus population, or whoever else is watching this?
mm. Keep having the conversation, always have the conversation, always know that there is more to do, even if by the miracles we are able to get to where we need to be, that doesn't mean we have to stop where we are. And that's been a lot of the conversations I've been having recently about the Black Lives Matter movement and even Pride movement. And I keep telling people their biggest fears, most of their fears is that it's going to stop, you know, and we're just going to go back to our lives and everything's just going to happen the way it happens before. And the way to not do that and not go backwards and not repeat history is to keep having those conversations. Keep going out there and inspiring people, and keep going out there and living your life. And so many people tend to forget about that. You know, they feel, well, I have to be a pillar of community and this and that. Yeah, or you could just be a human being and show that, you know, you go to work every day, that you have, you know, family and children to take care. By living your life, by being a LGBTQ person of society, And just doing what your everyday is basically how you show the other people that you are literally no different than anybody else. So that's the major advice that I have for just people watching. It's just that be the best you that you can be. That's really it. And stop worrying about what people think. Stop doing that. It is so tired. It is so old. Stop worrying about that. I mean, that what RuPaul said it himself, said it himself. You know, what other people think about you is really none of my business. You know, it really doesn't matter because you have to live your life. You have to make your own decisions. You have to go through this world until we're done. You know, so you do the best you can possibly do. And as long as you're not hurting nobody, life should be okay. Not golden, not perfect, but it should be okay.
Yes, I'm a very big advocate of it does not have to be perfect. So because it's life. It's not gonna be perfect.
Life is life.
So we did not ask the other people that have been interviewed for this particular project this yet, but given that I can tell it's something that's important to you, I did want to ask if there's anything you would like to share about how the Black Lives Matter movement is impacting you. It's fine if you want to say no. It's fine if you want to say yes. There will be resources in the description box that are specifically for mental health for people of color, for that community. But given that I can tell it's something obviously, understandably on your mind, if it's something you'd like to talk about, I wanted to invite you to.
No problem. Honestly, it's been an emotional time. It really has been. I am Native American and also African American. And so throughout this whole entire turmoil that we've been going through, I have also been paying attention to the social media and the news. And as I said, people have been contacting me to talk about many different issues and things like that. And as I said before, it's important that we're doing this. It's so important. And as I said before, we're fighting for civil rights. Every day, get up in the morning, go to bed at night, civil rights. Why is it that we have all of this wonderful technology, all these wonderful things that human beings are doing, and this is the one issue that we cannot get over? You know, it's baffling. It's like my mother and my father were part of the Black Panthers. So they've been through the 60s and the 70s. My mother was also in the women's movement. Yeah, it's just, when I look back through my family and its histories, there's so many people who've done so many things. And when you open up these books and these diaries to read that not much has changed, it's so frightening, so I feel it in that aspect. And then again, having to try to explain it, that has been a headache. Especially the people who just don't seem to understand the simplicity of it. Sometimes as human beings, we complicate things with our words, with our thoughts, that when you really look outside of yourself and look outside of how you were brought up and just to be empathetic about it, it kind of makes sense. And you go, oh, that's why I'm so glad to see so many people out on the streets marching, all different colors, all different nationalities, because no matter where you come from, we all go through something similar. And it's really funny that everyone wants to come to this country for all the freedoms and things like that, only to find out that this is still an issue. It's like the irony of it. It's like, I want to go to America and I want to be this, I want to be that. Well, you can do that, but there should never be a but. There should never be a but. And that's the thing. That's why we're fighting. We're fighting that hard. That's the point. We're human beings. The only difference between you and I is the fact that is our skin tone, honestly, and our gender. I just happen to be born this beautiful color. That's the only thing. That's the only thread that really is visual that's different. And that's what we're fighting about. We still have a heart, we still have bones, we still have a circulatory system, we have a respiratory system. We're human beings, just the pigment. That's all we're fighting about. But I do believe that we will get to a better day. I really do. Even if it's not in my lifetime, I'm pretty sure it will happen. So I just want people to keep fighting the good fight. You know, we have to keep fighting and don't stop the good fight, because even if this ends, there will be something else. There's always something else that we have to look at. And I say look at it and put a big magnifying glass on it and let's look at it. Let's talk about it. Let's search it out. Let's ask the questions. You know, that's how we get our answers. That's it. Ask the questions. So yeah, I'm proud to be who I am. I'm loving the time that I'm living in right now. And I'm loving seeing all the different kinds of change. Put yourself aside and really open your ears and hear the stories. You come to know people. You come to know what the fight really is about. It's really it.
Thank you for sharing. What an incredible lineage and history to have in your family. It's fascinating. I could probably
My
ask
family's
questions about that. But
my family is the UN. I have literally everybody in my family.
well, that's great in a way.
And I've got cops, I've got lawyers, I've got sheriffs, I've got scientists. I've got so many different people that are in my family alone. It's like, really, let me call Uncle so and so. You know, Mom's like, I'm gonna call. Okay, call them. And you get a little education while you're giving some love. So yeah.
Well, thank you for your time. And is there anything you would like, any upcoming events you would like to plug? You can also email them to me because they're going to be in the description box. But any upcoming events, social media page, anything you'd like to plug?
Well, yes, you can follow me at Facebook at LaBelle Belle. I have 2 pages. I have that, and I have LaBelle Live on Stage. So anybody can look me up there. I'm also on Instagram. I also have 2 pages. I have Seneca.Bell and Bell.Seneca, which is my boy name, on Instagram. So you can go to either one of those. So yeah, that's pretty much it.